Oh, hey, it's been a minute since we've done a solo cast, aka just me on the podcast. How to navigate an injury is one of the questions we get the most here at DLD Nation. That's why I thought it might be helpful to record a podcast on the topic. What's also super cool is this is a chapter in my book, Hack Your Health, how to navigate an injury. It's actually mindset hacks for navigating an injury and life in general. Yes, all of these can be used in your own life outside of fitness as well. But fitness is such a great analogy for life, right? Fitness is that example that can be applied to your career, to your relationships, to basically anything else in life. And so that's what this episode is going to be about. I'm going to do some reading from my book simply because this makes it easy. Honestly, I wrote this book to try to help people. I've also realized that not everybody reads books. That's why I'm happy to put it into podcast form. And friendly reminder, you can speed this up. If you want to get this listened to a little bit quicker, you can pop that up to 1.5x, 2x. But me reading from the book, it just makes things a little bit easier on your boy. And that's what I'm going to be reading from the book. However, I will stop from time to time to sort of add additional color, different comments here and there. Really appreciate you listening. As always, let's dive into mindset hacks for navigating injury and life in general. This chapter starts with a quote. I have all of my chapters start with a quote in the book, Hack Your Health. And this one is, quote, "No athlete is truly tested until they've stared an injury in the face and came out on the other side stronger than ever." That quote does not have an author. That is an anonymous quote. Also, I think before diving into this chapter and how to navigate an injury, you might be thinking to yourself, like, Sean, I've never been injured. I've never been injured. As we progress on a fitness journey, there will be times where we might tweak something, or as we get older, there's something just kind of out of whack. Those can be injuries as well. Those things that just happen in life. We're human. We're going to tweak something. We're going to roll an ankle. Something's going to be off at a workout. This applies to that. So when I'm saying injury, I know some of us may think those very dramatic sports injuries that may be tearing an ACL, tearing ligaments, broken bones, things of that nature. These tips can totally apply for those types of injuries as well. However, I don't want you to tune this out or turn this off if you're like, hey, Sean, I'm not playing professional sports. I'm not going to have any injuries of that nature that are going to be, very acute type injuries. So the tips in this podcast can be used for any type of injury. So if, yes, you suffer from one of the larger injuries, we're going to be out for weeks or months, this wholly applies to you. However, if you just tweak something and you're out of the gym for days or a week, this can help you stay sane as well. Again, these are mindset hacks for navigating an injury. So to dive right into my book, injuries are a part of life, whether you're on a fitness journey or not. It's as easy to sprain an ankle on a random stair step as it is to tweak a muscle during a lift. Regardless, getting injured and being sidelined from life in general is never easy. It gets even more challenging when someone has spent a lot of time and effort getting their body to a healthy state on a fitness journey, only to end up feeling like they're taking 10 steps back when experiencing an injury. What's more, these injuries can be anywhere from a slight ankle sprain while running/walking to slipped discs in one's back that need to be rehabilitated for months. That last part is actually very personal to me and Dayla. As those of you who may have been following us for a while, remember that Dayla had slipped disc, herniated discs in her back from lifting a little too heavy, and that led to a 6-month rehabilitation process. So that's where that part of the book comes from. The injury and inability to participate in one's favorite fitness modality is hard enough, not to mention the challenge one's mind and mindset experience around the injury. Rehabbing, recovering, and then finally getting back into the swing of things post-injury can be equally as hard as simply staying on track with your fitness protocols when healthy. Just think about it. We've had clients 6 months into their journey losing weight and learning their way around the weight room when suddenly they tweak something that keeps them out of the gym for weeks while they recover. This setback can wreak havoc on their mentality, leading to questions like, how do I not lose all my gains? How do I stay focused while resting or rehabbing? How do I spend the time typically reserved for the gym? This happens to all of us, right? We're out a few days and we wonder if we're going to lose all those gains. Oh no! I can promise you, actually quick story from my own life. Over the last year, I've been out of the gym out of 52 weeks. I added them up. It was something like 25 weeks, somewhere around there. It's because I went to give blood last year and the phlebotomist accidentally hit a nerve in my right arm and I could not use my right arm for 6 weeks. And so I was out of the gym for that side of my body. I was still doing massive amounts of leg days, trying to make up for it, and doing some left arm only workouts because there are some studies out there, fun fact, that suggest we can actually grow muscle. We can get stronger in one limb when simply working the other one. But I was out of the gym for a little while, was not able to lift my right arm for 6 weeks. Then in 2022, Dayla and I both go through 2 IVF retrieval surgeries. I was out of the gym for another 6 weeks on both times. And then, of course, getting COVID for the first time in 2022. You add all that up, I was out of the gym for almost half of the year, didn't lose all my gains. You probably look at me and never know the difference. So let's remember that if you're out for a few days, a few weeks, you're going to be just fine. Getting back to the book, I want to impress upon you that if you suffer from an injury, all is not lost. Just because you're unable to get to the gym doesn't mean it's prudent to stop everything else you were doing to get healthy and progress toward the body of your dreams. You can still maintain your diet and the calories / macros you're eating daily. Focus on getting good sleep, which will assist with injury recovery, and stay hydrated, which will also help with recovery. If you can walk or move around, you can focus on some kind of movement or exercise. You can still make progress towards your goals while recovering from an injury. You don't have to lose progress if you're still doing everything else you should be outside of the gym. Healing from this injury is a great time to emphasize the other aspects of your fitness journey, like improving your nutrition, hydration, and sleep habits, just to name a few. Because you have more time to focus on them, people often feel too busy to hit all of the protocols around their health and amid their busy lives when healthy. During an injury, you can get many hours back and work on other protocols. When taking this approach, you can help yourself get better at your overall fitness journey because you have time to nail down the non-gym aspects of this journey while recovering. That way, when you recover and are able to use your body how you want to again, you've mastered the other aspects of getting fit. They'll be easier because you've taken the time to understand and get good at them. Then, when you're back in the gym and healthy, you may notice you progress even faster towards your goals because you use the time recovering to improve your overall health. For real, if part of your fitness journey is taken away and you can't get into the gym, you can still track your macros. You can still get good sleep. You can still stay hydrated. A few of those things may have been challenging when you were focusing on getting into the gym, and now that that's limited and you have more bandwidth to focus on these other aspects of the fitness journey, how amazing can you get at these other aspects, at these other protocols? Then when you're healthy and you're able to get into the gym again, how much faster are you going to progress towards your goals? We saw a lot of this in 2020, to be completely honest, when things were all locked down, that time of life that no one remembers. We had so many clients who weren't able to get into the gym. And so they really focused on their macros. They really focused on their hydration. They focused on their steps. They focused on their sleep. And guess what? When the gyms opened back up, all of a sudden they were amazing at these protocols that typically gave them some challenges, and then they were really good across the board and they were able to progress very, very quickly, arguably quicker than before they had that time off from the gym. Now, getting back to the book, in addition, there's going to be much more time now for other pursuits than there were previously. For sure, the knee-jerk reaction is to wallow in self-pity during these injured hours because, well, getting hurt sucks. So it's easy to fall into feeling depressed and other low vibrational emotions. So to counteract this, we need to fill that time you once had scheduled for the gym with something else. The primary strategy I've personally used to fill this time is with other pursuits I'm passionate about, but don't necessarily have a ton of time to focus on. These could be anything from catching up on my favorite show to connecting with friends and family. You probably have a host of amazing things you want to explore, but haven't been able to because you feel like that time has been used at the gym and around your fitness journey in general. This point highlights a critical perspective shift that will almost guarantee success when bouncing back from an injury. Instead of looking at what was taken away because of your injury, look at what you can add. For real, this is where I'm going to take a pause in the book. I'm a huge fan, if you follow me, of perspective shifts, perspective shifting into something that serves us. If you're familiar with the placebo effect, you understand how powerful that effect can be. I've talked about where that comes from in previous podcasts. Definitely check those out. However, when we use that placebo effect on ourselves, we can actually kind of trick ourselves into being in a more positive, more grateful, more thankful headspace. We can still do that even when we're injured. And so when we get injured, yes, it is totally normal to feel the feels. And I highly encourage you to do that because we're all human. But after you've had that moment, try to shift into, how is this working for me? How can I turn this into a positive? How can I transmute a negative into a positive? And that negative is being out of the gym, but the positive is, what do I now have time for? Fitness journey or otherwise. That's an amazing perspective shift that you can use in your own life, fitness or otherwise. A similar strategy can be used if a specific muscle group is tweaked or hurt, but other muscle groups can still be trained. This is where I go into a story about the IV issue where I was giving blood rather, and the phlebotomist hit my nerve in my arm. And I go into the story that I just told. So I'm going to skip that and move ahead. Perspective shifts like these, the ones that I was just talking about, that shift into a positive headspace, allow someone to not give up when facing an injury, are essential. As mentioned previously, getting hurt can lead to feeling sad and depressed. Totally get it. Perspective shifts are used to convince the mind that all is not lost and to never give up. Someone who managed their injuries in this manner was Superman, or more specifically, Christopher Reeve, the actor who portrayed Superman in the movies in the 1970s and 1980s. Shout out to Henry Cavill, but Christopher Reeve got there first. In 1995, Reeve was thrown from a horse he was riding and broke his neck, severing his spinal cord from his brain and leaving him paralyzed from the neck down. However, instead of giving up, Reeve began demanding an exercise program that involved moving all parts of his paralyzed body with the aid of electrical stimulation. The result? 5 years after the injury, Reeve started to regain movement in his body. He first felt it in his hands, then his arms, then his legs, and eventually his torso too. While he couldn't regain his ability to walk, brain scans showed that his brain was again sending signals to his body, and his body was responding. Isn't that wild? That's crazy. Reeve didn't give up after being told he would never be able to use his body again. That perseverance allowed him to not only regain movement in parts of his body, but he turned science on its head by showing what was possible when maintaining strong mental toughness around an injury and continuing to push forward regardless of circumstances. Reeve impressively was able to act again too, most notably in the movie Rear Window, which I highly recommend watching. I do. That was one of my favorite movies growing up. Highly recommend it. That was a super cool movie, Rear Window. By shifting his perspective from, quote, why me to, quote, what can I still do to make progress, Reeve was able to accomplish things he was told he'd never again be able to. Perspective shifts can elevate our thinking, allowing us to overcome seemingly insurmountable barriers, move faster, and see the world more clearly. That's actually a quote from How to Master the Art of Perspective Shift, because your boy did some research from this book, guys. This wasn't just off the top. Research shows that a positive attitude produces brain chemicals that give us a lift. Cultivate the ability to perspective shift into something more positive, or at the very least more advantageous than a current predicament, and you'll naturally be calmer, more relaxed, and with a more positive viewpoint. Again, that is from the book Perspective Shift, The Power to Change Your Mind. So it's not just me talking. This has actually been studied. Achieving these kinds of perspective shifts start with understanding the hacks used to get there. Below are practices anyone can use in efforts to cultivate this type of perspective shift that creates more mental toughness around injury. The first hack is to watch motivational YouTube videos or something similar. It could be motivational videos, motivational movies, anything of that nature, right? Motivational TV shows, motivational content kind of puts a bow on it. It's very easy to get down when sustaining an injury that prevents us from doing the things we love. One fantastic way to hedge against these low emotions is to watch not only motivational videos on YouTube, but videos of others who have dealt with injuries and not only made a comeback, but come back stronger. Countless athletes who have had to deal with injuries have not only made a comeback, but came back stronger, like Kobe Bryant, Kevin Durant, Alex Smith, Paul George, Tom Brady. These all come to mind. Not to mention entertainers like Tracy Morgan, who rehabbed from a horrible car accident. As humans, we consume more than just food and liquids. We consume what we read, watch, and listen to, and we can use this to our advantage when watching motivational and inspirational content. I mention YouTube because it's an easy way to search for individuals who resonate with you, such as searching, quote, insert favorite celebrity motivational video, unquote, but this can wholly be accomplished via Netflix and similar streaming services. The goal is to simply surround yourself with stories of strength, stories of challenges overcome, and positive stories that not only give you hope around your circumstances, but show that you're not alone. You can also co-opt this for times when you are not injured. For instance, let's say you're trying to do morning cardio. You have your lifting routine, you have your cardio routine, and you're really looking for that motivation to get up in the morning. When you get on that treadmill or stationary bike or whatever apparatus you use for your cardio, throw on a YouTube video of your favorite person with motivational video appended to it. So as you know, I'm a huge Kobe Bryant fan. I would, when I was doing my cardio, I would search via YouTube, Kobe Bryant motivational video or Kobe Bryant inspirational video. I would have a host of content options pop up and I would be able to watch that while doing cardio that would keep me motivated. So please know, like I said up front, so many of these tips can be used outside of getting injured as well. The next hack is to watch film. Very similar to the strategy that I just talked about, but different. Same but different. Professional athletes watch a ton of game film. For example, if they want to improve their game against a given defense or individual, watching film of said defense or individual will allow the person watching film to learn patterns and movements that they can exploit when on the field or court. Salespeople, as I often did back in the day, will record their sales calls to review what they're saying and how they're saying it. They're watching film just in a different way. People do this to improve at their thing, whatever their thing is, right? I'll even have my clients send training videos of themselves doing a specific lift or movement in the gym. Sure, it gives me, as their coach, visibility into workouts my clients are doing on their own during their own time, but it also allows my clients to see what they are doing on film. It's no surprise that when clients do this a few times, they start to learn what to watch for in their training videos. So much so, it's not uncommon to have a client send their training videos and then remark about what they could have done differently or better after they themselves watch the film. I really personally love those moments when I get a video sent to me from a client and then it's a followed up message a couple seconds later that's like, oh, wait, I think I see what I need to fix. Love those moments. Like the athletes and salespeople discussed earlier, those on a fitness journey can watch film of themselves too. A great time to watch this film is when they get injured and have the time to do so. There it is. They can then fill recovery time with watching themselves on film and taking notes so they can come back to the gym even better when they're back to 100% health. Again, watching that video, watching the film of ourselves lifting, when you're doing it constantly, then during those moments, unfortunately, when we may be out of the gym or even at our leisure, if you're on a plane and the Wi-Fi doesn't work, you can pull these videos up and really dissect your lifting technique and see what you were doing. And then you turn around and do it in the gym. Because when we can see it, when we can visualize it, our brain actually doesn't know the difference of doing it versus doing it the real thing. And that's there's a book called The Brain. Definitely dive into that one. Also, Mindset, the book by Carol Dweck, talks about this as well, how visualizing basically has the same effect in the brain as actually doing that thing. If you're injured and don't have film of yourself, search for coaches and other fitness professionals and watch them lift. This strategy is especially helpful if you're a visual learner. Then, when you're healthy and ready to get back in the gym, you'll have a library of visuals to pull from to help you in your lifts. The next hack is one of gratitude and mindset training. Something that stuck with me concerning injuries is a story I heard about the NBA player Gordon Hayward and Kobe Bryant. While playing for the Celtics in his first game for the storied franchise, Hayward experienced one of the more gruesome injuries on a basketball court, visibly breaking his leg during a game. 11 out of 10 do not recommend YouTubing this. That's an excruciating injury to not only experience, but to try to come back from. The recovery and rehab process is so lengthy, Hayward was not only out of the entire season that year, but might not get back to 100% health the following season. So he may have been out 2 seasons after sustaining this injury. Quite the tough road to hoe, not just physically, but mentally as well. One of Hayward's first calls after getting out of surgery was to Kobe Bryant, who had famously torn his Achilles tendon during a game and subsequently overcame a similar rehabilitation process Hayward was now facing. Real quick, I 10 out of 10 do recommend you YouTube Kobe Bryant tearing his Achilles, because after he does, he walks up, sinks 2 free throws, and then walks off unassisted after tearing an Achilles. How in the world? I do not get it. But we can learn from this stuff, and that's why I'm here. The first thing Kobe asked, how grateful Hayward was for his previous health, for his ability to play basketball, and for the day-to-day regularities that he'd previously taken for granted. I want to stop here for a sec, because how profound is that? I've tried to remember that anytime I get hurt and I'm out, is how grateful I am to be able to do the things that I do unencumbered before the injury. What that does, it's not meant to make us feel badly, guys. What that does is it can cue our brains to be more grateful during the day-to-day. So when you wake up and you have free use of all your limbs, you're walking without a limp, be grateful for that. Be grateful that you can do that. It's those things we take for granted. But if we can show gratitude during the day, and while we're doing it, we can really enjoy it. We can live more in the moment. To me, that's a powerful feeling, and one that I've tried to cultivate in my life, even being grateful for not getting enough sleep at night to being grateful for the ability to walk when spraining an ankle. Also, a fun one from Jocko Willink is if you don't get a lot of sleep one night, you wake up in the morning, you say good, because then you're going to learn what you're made of. That's a fun one from Jocko. Kobe's point was to focus the mind on gratitude, because then the mind will want to get back to that state and stay there. Plus, if one can experience gratitude while injured, they're already developing a stronger mindset. Now that you have time to learn and develop these practices created by being injured, why not look more into them and try them out? The next hack is to reach out to coaches and mentors. Community is such an essential aspect of getting healthy and life in general. That's why here at DLD Nation, we have a ton of group chats, not only with your coach, but for different passions like pets and other things of that nature. Just want to shout us out. That's where coaches and mentors come into play in your life, because they're able to not only show you that you're not alone, but can help guide you through the challenging process of rehabbing and recovering from injury. But what if you're doing things independently and aren't part of a training squad? You can still seek out friends, relatives, colleagues, and others who will be there to support you during your recovery. They can help remind you that while being injured seems like your whole world when you're hurt, It's a fleeting moment in your life compared to the entirety of it. This is especially true when doing those things that will quickly get you back to health. Also, this is good to know if you're going to be out of the gym for a little bit, all is not lost, like I was saying. However, I want to add to that, all of us are in this fitness journey long term. You may have started this for something more aesthetic or a short-term goal, like I want to get fit and healthy before a wedding or before event X. However, as we get into a fitness journey, we start to realize that we can do this for years, if not decades. We're literally talking decades. So if you're going to train, if you're going to work out, if you're going to exercise, if you're going to be fitness, quote unquote, for decades, what's one day? What's one week? As long as you're being consistent, you establish that habit, you establish that routine, don't sweat being out of the gym for a couple days. You're going to be all right. The next hack is to build excitement for physical activities. When a person is injured, they have plenty of time to build excitement for the gym and physical feats overall. At times, getting to the gym might feel like a chore when you're healthy, even if you enjoy working out. We've all been there, right? Sometimes taking time away from the gym due to an injury is exactly what the mind needs to become positively engaged with physical activities again. Amid the day-to-day hustle, we may sometimes forget why we're doing what we're doing. Some downtime away from the sport or workout or activity can do wonders for our psyche and assist us in being grateful for the ability to do our chosen fitness modality. For instance, studies show that spending time in nature as little as 10 minutes can lessen stress. If you're able to, during an injury, you could go for walks outside. The benefits here are twofold. You get to lean into relaxing in nature while also getting your daily steps and movement. The best part is you don't have to be injured to test this suggestion out. You could simply be taking some time off. Regardless, often time away makes the heart grow fonder. This reminds me of all of us who had the gym taken away from us during COVID, during lockdowns. And I was trying to impress upon my clients and myself to remember that when the life and the world went back to normal and we were again able to work out in a gym. Because how grateful were we to have those gyms again and how motivated would be to make it to the gym. Let's remember that. This last hack is more of a tactical tip. It's important to note that we still need to take action when we're injured, rehabbing and healing. Getting seen or diagnosed immediately by a healthcare professional and then taking immediate action should be paramount, along with using the tips mentioned previously to keep your head in the game. Depending on the injury, when you can get back into the gym may largely be dependent on your commitment to these protocols. For those of you who might be concerned about losing physical progress while being sidelined with an injury and out of the gym, I promise you won't lose all your gains. A 2013 study of athletes in elite rugby union, rugby league, and American football showed that strength levels are maintained over 3 weeks of not training. In other words, it takes over 3 weeks of inactivity to start losing muscle. That's also only if you're completely sedentary and unable to do any physical activity, including walking, over that time span. Let me read that again. In other words, it takes over 3 weeks of inactivity to start losing muscle. That's also only if you're completely sedentary and unable to do any physical activity, including walking, over that time span. So these are people who are way smarter than I am, who have done this research, and they've concluded that you need to be out of the gym and laying down on a sofa doing absolutely nothing for 3 months to actually lose your gains. We've all been there. I've been in my head about this too. That's why I've done a ton of research. That's why I wrote a book, to drum it into my head that if I miss a few workouts, all is going to be okay. I'm not going to lose all my muscle. I think this one is really important to point out because we all have that challenge of, oh my God, I've been out of the gym. Like, oh, are we going to be okay? One already on a fitness journey might recall being sick for a few days or going on a week-long vacation and returning to find that they didn't lose all their muscles. They didn't lose all their gains. They got back into the gym, and a few days back in routine, they started to look and feel themselves again. The results of this study and the anecdotal examples show that, for the most part, our thoughts about losing our gains are just that, thoughts in our heads. Figments of our imagination. Instead of focusing on what you could lose during an injury, the perspective shifts to what is gained. So that, ladies and gentlemen, friends and family, boys and girls, is how to navigate an injury. I hope this was super helpful. If it was, I would recommend and request that you please share it with somebody else who you think would be helpful. I truly appreciate you listening. I really appreciate everybody who subscribes to the podcast, leaves us a 5-star review, follows us at Shasta Dome Podcast on Instagram, and helping us grow this podcast and get in front of more people and help more people improve their lives. That's what we're here for. With that, I'm signing off. And again, really appreciate you listening. If you want more of what I was just reading, that's Hack Your Health. It's available on Amazon. It's probably still 99 cents on Kindle. I have not changed that. It'll probably be between $10 and $15 for a paperback edition, depending on a holiday. So spoiler alert, you can still get the book. I appreciate y'all. See you on the next one.